Hey guys, my name is Japhety, and today I am joined by my co-host Jospin.
What's up?
And welcome to our very first episode of the Bproud Podcast. And we are both the co-founders of Bproud, which is a clothing brand created to inspire people to be proud of who they are.
Yeah, and the purpose of this podcast is really to have positive and informative conversations about personal growth and personal development. Just because at the core, that's what Bproud is. It's about becoming proud of who you are, and it's a daily thing that you have to grow and develop and continue to grow into. And so we're going to start every episode by providing you with some quotes or some comments that we really loved from the week. And this week, I'm going to be providing you guys with a quote from Ryan Holiday. He wrote a book called Ego's Enemy. Highly recommend that book. And it goes, "There's no one to perform for. There's only work to be done and all that it is around us." I really love this quote just because it really talks about how we shouldn't seek validation from other people, that we should really focus on us and only our, or really we are the only ones we have to validate ourselves. And then the work part, the way I interpret that part is the working on yourself. I don't see it as physical work or a job or a project that you have to do. I see it as like a daily thing where you're working on yourself, and there's daily lessons in life that we're working for. And so, yeah, that's my quote of the week. What do you got, Fetty?
Love that.
Appreciate it.
For me, my quote of the day, I don't know who came up with the quote or who's the author, so I can't even give the credit to them. But it says, "Don't be someone else. Let someone influence you, but don't become them." And I really love this quote because we live in such an information society where we have access to a bunch of information nowadays with just simply as from your phone, from YouTube, Instagram, whatever. We have so much people that we look up to, and a lot of the time we get caught up into wanting to be them, that in a way we trying to form our life to be them. Mm-hmm. And I think it loses the essence of what life kind of is you being who you are and being your unique self. And so for me, it's like I always trying to chase me in 10 years versus me trying to chase someone else, because I know Fetty in 10 years is going to be a whole different person. That's the kind of person I want to be. And then once I get there in 10 years, that Fetty is going to be chasing Fetty from 10 years from there again. And so it's just always constantly trying to chase myself and take influence from other people. Like I take inspiration from a bunch of people. I listen to a bunch of podcasts. And so I let them in a way kind of direct me, but I don't base my whole life around them or try to become them. And because I think we all have our own swag that we need to be wearing, we need to represent. And so just always having that and always just continuously don't forget that and don't lose that whenever you do get influence from other people.
Perfect. And I think that's the perfect segue to the very first topic of this podcast, which is, what does it mean to be proud? And so I'm going to go ahead and ask you that question, Fetty. Like, to you, what does it mean to truly be proud?
Simply put, for me, being proud of yourself means having a strong and healthy sense of self-worth, which genuinely leads to you being happier and more fulfilled, whether that's mental or physically. And being proud of yourself doesn't mean that you think you're perfect or you're better than everybody else, but you know what you bring to the table and you know what you bring to the room whenever you walk into that. So that's really what being proud means, is just having a strong sense of self-worth and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, no, I really love what you said there. And before I explain what my definition of pride or just being proud means, I do want to clarify for just everybody who hasn't, interacted with Bproud before. We want people to understand that pride isn't about being cocky. It isn't about being overconfident. It isn't about anybody else. It isn't about exuding so much confidence that you're making others feel bad about themselves. Because to me, I think the ultimate form of pride is not only being proud of yourself, but being proud of every single person in every single situation, right? And at the core, I think it's exactly what you said, Fetty, where it's about self-worth, understanding and being proud of that, the person inside of yourself. And the way I like to even break it down further is just being proud of who you are instead of being proud of what you are. And it might sound super vague or anything like that, but honestly, it's very simple. And I see what you are as the title that a lot of people claim, whether that's a girlfriend, whether that's a boyfriend, a mother, a doctor, a student, an athlete. You know, a lot of people get caught up in, you know, what role they play in society, whether that's, you know, being even a firefighter. And like, I think it's an amazing thing to be a firefighter and to be proud of that, to embrace that. But at some point in your life, that is going to end. You know, you're not going to be a firefighter anymore. You're not going to be a student. You're not going to be, you know, an athlete, right? But at the core, you're always going to be Fetty. You know what I mean? You're always going to be Jospin. Like, so no matter what happens in life, I will never change, or the person I am will never change. And so understanding and being proud of who you are and not what you are, I think will like just sets you up for just an amazing life. And it distracts you from everything else, because people can take down and just ruin what you are. And even like when you look at social media, I think like your online presence is an example of what you are in the world. It isn't who you are. And 9 times out of 10, the person you interact with in person is that who that person really is. And we've gotten so used to, just because that's the way social media is designed, and it's not a bad thing. Where it's supposed to be a place where you show your best highlights, you share your you know, the pictures that you like and all that kind of stuff. And so we've gotten conditioned to think that's what everybody's reality is.
Yeah.
When in reality, that is not what, you know, everybody's reality is. That's just a highlight. You know, everybody's got their ups and downs, but they're not going to tell you their downs.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because if somebody like, you know, tells you like you're showing their downs on their story, crying and all that kind of stuff, you judging. Like, you're like, I don't want to see nobody cry on my story. 100%. And to be honest, like, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't want to, just because it makes everybody uncomfortable, right? And so. But the really the really important thing about that is, like, when we're consuming, like, you know, whatever we see in the world, we have to understand that that's their highlights. We've gotten used to thinking that's their everything. Yeah. You know, and so, and that's the what that people see. You know, people can criticize you on your what. People can criticize you on all these different things. If you're an athlete, you can be criticized on how well you're performing on the court. If you're a student, you can be criticized on how well you're doing in class by a grade. Yeah. You know, but they can't criticize your character. Because at the end of the, like, who you are as a person is going to, you know, outlive all of those titles in life. And so that's why I think it's really important at your core to truly understand yourself, like Fetty was really talking about, and then also embracing that, and then continuing to understand that, like, there is no end to that self-discovery. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there is no end to understanding that self-worth. And when you feel like you've ended, that's when you get to that point where you're overconfident.
100%.
You know, you're at that point where, like, and I've been there. I've been to that point where, like, oh shoot, I thought I was like the shit. You know, I thought I've had that multiple times in my life where, like, whether it was basketball, I thought I was the best hooper out there. You know what I mean? Or artistically, I thought I was the best artist, but, like, I never understood that it's a continuous
levels to it.
Yeah, always. There's levels to it. Yeah. There's always levels to improve at. And so that's why I think it's really important to understand yourself. And
I think, like you said, it's evolving process that we got to remember. And sometimes too, where we in those situations, I think there's a lot of times where we get caught up in. It's like if things don't go your way, it's like you start, in a way, kind of negatively putting yourself down, and then that also eats away at your self-confidence. It also eats away at your self-worth, because you got to really understand, you can be your biggest critic and your biggest hater, but at the end of the day, you got to realize too, you are the solution to every problem that you're ever gonna face. 100%. So you got to realize that, and you just got to wake up and see it. And so just try to have a positive mindset with a lot of the stuff that you do. And we're not perfect. We're not always going to have that. But the more that you bring yourself down, the more that you're hurting yourself, and the more that you're hurting your own pride. And in a way where there's people that don't have any pride, or they feel like they don't have a sense of pride, is because you kind of hurt yourself, and, you know, and you put yourself in that situation, but you're going to be that same person that can get yourself out of that situation 100%. As well too. So just 100%. Realizing that. I did have a question. Yeah. When you was bringing up that conversation, have you ever had a moment where you had have you ever been in a situation where you had to balance being pride of yourself and your accomplishment and being humble with what you have?
Yeah. No. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that's the hardest balance, right? Especially if you're an ambitious person and you want a lot of things in life. It's like you have to, juggle that line, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, to be LeBron, for example, right? You gotta believe that you're better than everybody.
Yeah.
And like that's what makes a lot of NBA players great, is because they have that self-belief, right? But that same level of self-belief is what can make you go over the edge. That can make you get to that point where you're overconfident, cocky, and even rude or arrogant, right? And I think to me, like, what truly helps me get to like that middle ground of humility and pride is always making it more than myself, right? No matter how great I do something, it's always more than myself. Like, I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for others. Because I think that's at least how I am able to maintain that, like, humility, right? Because, like, let's say I do a great job, a great design. I try to give that gratitude to everything that I've learned, or the people that have helped me get to that place, right? Even with Bproud, like, it's really easy to get to a point of cockiness with everything that we've done.
Yeah.
But I think what keeps me humble is understanding that, like, yo, this is bigger than us. This is bigger than what we've done, what we want to do, and what we'll ever do. And that keeps me at this level playing field where, like, I never feel like it's about me. Because, like, I literally treat it like I'm on a team every single time, no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's what basketball taught me, where it's like, if you're playing for yourself, you might have a great game, but we're gonna lose.
Yeah,
you know
100%,
what I mean? Like,
100%.
If you're not the type of player that you're gonna pass the ball, you know how to work within a system, and truly believing that you're a part of, like, a collective. It makes it bigger than yourself, and then always understanding, like, at least for me, that there's always another level that I can get to, right? Like, no matter, like, let's say I just, there are a lot of times where, like, you'll tell me, like, damn, that's the best design you'd have never done.
Yeah.
Like, that's fire, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, okay, that was great, but I know there's another level that I can get to, right? And that's where I'm always like, where even if I'm, like, you're only as good as your last project, your last thing, your last accomplishment, right? No matter what you're doing in life. So, like, whenever I look at myself, I'm like, all right, cool, that's the last thing I did. All right, I'm going to beat that. I'm not trying to go beat anybody else what they're doing, or trying to live up to anybody else's expectations. I just literally, and even when I, like, the way I look at the Be Proud posts that we do, I literally look at those and be like, all right, cool, how can I make that better? How can I improve that? Like, I'm not looking at, the Fear of Gods, the Nikes, the Adidas's. Nah, like, I'm looking at my own work, and I'm trying to figure out how can I get better. And I think that's where, like, when you're in competition with yourself, it's really hard to be arrogant, because you don't think like you're not going to think you're better than anybody else if you're in competition with yourself, right? So at least for me, but I would love to hear, like, because I know you've gone through that. Well, how do you balance that, humility and that having confidence and pride?
Yeah, I think for me, sometimes it's just slowing down and realizing it.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we do have moments where we should feel pride.
Yeah.
But then it's like, for us, it's like, okay, what's the next thing? Yeah. But just slowing down and actually taking that in is something that's been kind of helpful in a way, to just kind of, like, realizing what all this stuff is going on. But like you said, it's at the end of the day, it's like anything that we do or I do, I know it's just a little part to the bigger puzzle that we want to create. So it's not getting caught up in that moment as well too. It's like, okay, things are, like, we did this good, but what's next? How can we improve on it? Like you said, how can we make it better? And so that's kind of how I balance being proud of myself and then being humble. And sometimes it's just simply just me telling myself I am proud of what I've done, what I accomplished. Because I'm definitely more of a tunnel vision person. It's like, okay, what's the next thing? You accomplish, like, even, like, I remember we talked about this, like, when I graduated, like, it was such a big thing that I wanted to do for such a long time. Being a first generation, being first person in my family to actually graduate, you know, debt free, and it was like I don't even think I took a moment to like really kind of pause and like let that
celebrate
sink in,
that
you know?
shit, my boy. Like, that's huge, bro.
Yeah.
Especially like, and this is something like I don't even think I vocalized to you like directly, but man, like you have to understand how big of an impact that made to your family, and like, you know, I'm proud of you for not only like being able to get through it, but like throughout the whole entire process, you've been present in your family's life, making sure your brothers and sisters and everybody else underneath you understand that like this is important. Because like we've had a conversation where like I don't care about school, none of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But for you, it's really about like understanding like this isn't just about me. You know, this is about my family, and I really admire that about you. How like you're able to stay disciplined, you're able to keep going and keep pushing to show that like it, and I think that's why you never really cared about it or it never really hit you because like it wasn't for you.
100%.
Like, and I've always known that. I always knew that like graduating was always for your mom, your dad, your Japhety, or no, Edward, Emable, Chanel, Tieli, you know, Annabelle, like every single one of them but yourself, even Anita, like every single person came before you. And I think that's where it's like you have to take that moment to say like, damn, bro, like it's a huge thing you did in 4 years.
Yeah,
man, you was getting paid to go to school.
Yeah, literally.
Too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is like you said. You bring that up because at the end of the day, it's like I think even with both of us, it's like everything we want to do is in a way to lead by example. It's like I think even being the second oldest, it's like, you know, everything I do is trying to give a pathway for like, okay, we came from nothing. You know, like we came from nothing, but we're able to do so much more. But it's just really about you applying yourself to it. Yeah. And I didn't really realize how much like even my family kind of looked up to me in the sense of like what I'm doing, going to school, all the other stuff, even just certain things that I do. And that's when like I said, it's like a lot of the stuff is bigger than just who I am, and that's what keeps me humble. You know, it's just because like, yeah, it's like I'm doing it. It's cool. It's all that stuff, but it's like more of like how am I making impact? Not just to my family, but the community, the people that's around me, my friends, and that kind of stuff. So that's always just been like the number one thing that kept me going.
Now, one thing I want to ask you is though, like you do a lot for other people, right? Like, what do you do for yourself? Like, what do you do to make sure that you're taking care of you? And just like making sure that like you're not overexerting yourself and giving too much of yourself.
That's a good question. I feel like that is one thing I really haven't spent too much time like really just thinking about, because like I said, it's a lot of the stuff is always for other people. But I've come to realize two things really to kind of just help me with a lot of the stuff that I do. Is one is not getting caught up in a thing that's out of my control. Yeah. So if something happens and I can't do nothing to change it, can't do nothing to like fix the situation, it is what it is. I just gotta let go of it, not having that emotional connection, which allows me to pick up things and let things go if it's unnecessary for me. And then it's like I'm not wasting a lot of my time and my energy and fixated in a problem, you know. Like say if like, you know, my window got broken, I'm like, all right, cool, it happened twice
in the same week, bro. I remember that one.
But it's just like I can sit here and cry about it, or I have the money, I'm gonna fix it and then keep it pushing, you know, get the computer replaced, whatever else. And so that's where it's gonna be like, if it's out of my control, then it's out of my control. I'm just gonna let it go. And that goes with beyond just like the small things that happen. And then number two is filling my own cup before I can fill other people's as well too. So like I said, just huge. Taking that time to just really just relax, go and do things that I like, pouring into myself first, and then filling my cup like to a point where it's overfilled, then it allows me to easily fill into other people's as well too, versus me pouring half glass into other people. It's like I want to make sure I'm overfilled, and then I'm like, that allows me to easily pour into other people as well too. So I feel like in a way I try to keep myself centered with a lot of things I do, God first, and then I'm always second. Like I think having God be the center of my life, and then allowing me to kind of him pour into me, you know, in a way where it's like I feel like sometimes I can't do it. I literally would just pray, and then it feels like I, you know, when nobody else can do it. It's like,
he gives it to you.
And it's just really surrounding the right people. Is like, I think even just our friend group, being around you, being around other people, it's like, I think our friend group, we do a really good job of like just motivating each other and pointing to each other as well too, without even knowing that we're kind of doing that, you know?
Not even saying a word.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, we see each other like, damn, that fool is working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like, it makes you feel like I can't slack. And it's a good thing just because like, I really do think that's another like step to being proud of who you are, is just like valuing yourself first. And I actually want to go back to something you said earlier, where like you have to tell yourself like, I'm worthy, I'm this, I'm like, I have to tell myself you're proud.
Yeah.
And the reason that is so important is because like, if you don't tell yourself you're proud or you're valuable, then what you allow other people to say about you is going to be is what you're going to say about yourself. So like, for example, if somebody says you're ugly or you're rude or like, you know, you're not good at that, you're bad at that, you know, you suck at that, you know, the only reason you will accept whatever they say is because you believe it about yourself already, right? And that's a lesson I learned from The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, another great book. But it's really about don't take anything personal. And that is another, I think, really crucial part about being proud of who you are, is when you don't take anything personal and you understand that whatever anybody says or does to you, it's a reflection of what they're going through and not what you're going through, right? And so it's always important to develop that self-worth, that sense of self that we were talking about before, so that then you can you're not wavered by those outside influences. You're not wavered by anything anybody says or does to you, because you understand that it's not about me. And you take that, like what we've been saying, where it's like, no matter what the situation is, it's not about me.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think to kind of segue into that, my question is, what advice would you give to someone? Because I think there is a lot of people that do struggle with finding pride in themselves because they have like low self-esteem or whatever is going on. Like, what advice or strategy would you give to somebody to kind of like go through that or help themselves like increase their self-worth?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say take out a piece of paper and just write down everything that you're proud of in your life. Like, just write it all down. And like, it doesn't matter what it is, because a lot of people think that they can't, no matter, like they might be be depressed and they don't have anything to be proud of. But like, you know, you could be proud to have a roof over your head. You know, you can be proud to have a phone. You can be proud to be able to sleep at night, be able to walk, be able to read, write, whatever the case is. A lot of people think that like being able to be proud of those little things is just showing gratitude, showing being, if you're able to like show love for yourself for those little things, then you can show love for yourself for all those bigger ones. You know, and it's really starts with acknowledging those things that you're proud about yourself, you know, and understanding like, hey, I love this about myself, I love that about myself, or I'm proud of myself about this. Don't even worry about all the negative things. Like, just write down what you're proud of first, like every single little detail, whether it's your hair, whether it's your eyes, like there's always something about you. Maybe it's your family, even if it's outside of yourself. Being proud, even if it's hard to find something about yourself, being able to find pride in the people around you as well. I'm proud of my little brother, I'm proud of my older brother, I'm proud of my mom, all these different people. Like, just teaching yourself to show that pride constantly within what you do. I think it starts to develop, a sense of value for yourself. And then I think the next exercise to me after that is just really truly writing down your values, like writing down what's most important to you, you know, and understanding that your values, you don't have to look that up. You don't have to try to find model prototype for that, because there's so many different things. You'll be like, oh, top 5 values that you should have for yourself. Nah, like, you decide what's valuable to you. If the most valuable thing to you is being able to read every single day, put that down. You know what I mean? The most invaluable thing to you is like, I love the time I get to play 2K every day, something like that. It doesn't matter how dumb it is, like, or how random it is. Like, I don't think anything is dumb. It doesn't matter how random it is. just write it down. I need to walk. I need to go on a walk every single day.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that you put value in. And then, like, I think doing those exercises builds patterns that you can then build on.
Yeah.
And just really focusing on something small, something simple.
Yeah.
And then you can get to a point where, like, I'm proud of my smile. I'm proud of my skin. I'm proud of my, you know, my energy. I'm proud of my, like, everything that you do.
Yeah.
When you can then do that exercise and write down every single aspect about yourself, and you don't even you're not insecure about anything else, I think that's when you've reached that pinnacle. But it really starts small.
Yeah.
And writing those things down. But what about you?
I agree. I think you touched on something that was like patterns then turns into a habit. Then it becomes a lifestyle, to be honest. But my advice that I will give to people that's dealing with low self-esteem is, one, learn to forgive yourself.
Oh, that's a big one.
Just know we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. And so the first thing you got to do is just learn to forgive yourself, because then that allows you to kind of continue to live life, or continue to live this journey of life. And then number two, I'll have to say, have or improve your self-awareness skills. And I think you forgiving yourself will allow you to kind of increase or improve your self-awareness skills, because you know you're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. And so having those moments, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling sad, or I'm having these negative self-thoughts. Let me change those. And then I think that goes into, like, we kind of talked about having a strong sense of self-worth. You forgiving yourself, from then you figuring out, like, I'm having these negative self-thoughts, then we're going to be like, okay, I know who I am. I kind of created this, strengthen my self-worth in a way, which is just those three things right there. And I think the last thing will be just to be patient. Be patient, because I said we're gonna make mistakes. We're not perfect, but just be patient with yourself in this journey of self-growth, or even just you increasing your pride, because it's not gonna happen overnight. And it's gonna take months, and it's gonna take work, and you gotta be willing to be able to put in that work and not just want an overnight success.
Yeah, and I want to end it off there, just because, like, we want you guys to know that we're going along this personal growth development as well. We're not up here trying to say we're perfect. We're not up here trying to say we're better than anybody, or that we know anything. Like, we might be talking up our ass, but at the end of the day, we think I think having these conversations, being open and honest, can help some people out there. And that's kind of our goal, is to, you know, we want you guys to jump on this personal journey with us. Like, you know, our journey of discovering ourselves, our journey of, like, you know, reading, writing, getting better, becoming better people, you know, at the end of the day. And
even just you guys, it also helps us to honestly having these conversations. Sometimes I think we definitely get caught up with a lot of the stuff, but just like being able to hear what Jospin has to say, or even just hearing my own self sometimes talk, I'm like, damn, I kind of forgot about that, but then it sparks something for me, brings back. And that's what, like Jospin said, we're not perfect. We don't think we got everything together, because we're still young, but we're in that process of us just wanting to give what we know. And I'm very curious to see what we're going to be like if we can continue this on in the next 2-3 years, you know, how our answers are going to change.
Exactly.
Because we're, like I said, we're still in this process.
100%. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to the very first episode of the Bproud Podcast. It has been truly incredible. And what we want you guys to do is, if you watch this video and you get all the way through the end, please leave a comment down below. Give us anything about, whether it's about life, whether it's about a Bproud question, about our clothing brand, you know, anything personal, to something you want to learn about us. And so we will love to answer those questions in the next episode. And
don't forget to follow us on all of our social medias. Our Instagram for our clothing brand is official Bproud, and then we'll also post all of our content on Bproud on Spotify, on Apple Music.
Yeah, Apple Music. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, it's going to be there. It's going to be there.
It's going to be there. So, yeah, we just want to end off this episode by just saying, don't forget to be different, be you, and be proud.
We almost messed that up.